Welcome, this is the Panthers.com video mailbag presented by CEENTA. Staff writer Max Henson here answering your questions ahead of Carolina's matchup against the Green Bay Packers here at Bank of America Stadium. Got our questions from Facebook this week, and we'll start out with the first one from James Burrow, who says, who will be the featured back down the stretch? Stewart is hot right now, but McCaffrey has been consistent all year in passing downs. I think the Panthers have made it pretty clear throughout the course of the season that both running backs are going to be featured, and their roles have been pretty clearly defined here. I mean, Jonathan Stewart, that power running back, late in the season, he's typically been at his best, and we're starting to see that again this year. I mean, against the Vikings, over 100 yards, was NFC Offensive Player of the Week after scoring 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground for his first time in his career. I mean, he has the ability late in the season to kind of wear on defenses, and we're starting to see that. You're going to see him featured in that role. And for Christian, his role has pretty much been the same all year. I mean, he does a little bit of everything. He does line up out wide. He lines up in the backfield, in the slot, to try to get him the ball in multiple different ways. And you look at the Vikings game, 8 carries. I think you're going to see that number right around there throughout the rest of the season. 8, 9, 10 carries mixed in with some passes thrown his way. Obviously, he's his team's leading receiver in the catch department. So these two guys have pretty clearly defined roles for this team, and the Panthers are going to continue to roll with it. Got our next question from Marley Nicky, who says, Max, why do you not answer questions about Shula's conservative play calling, especially when we have the lead? Well, let's get into this a little bit, and let's look at the Minnesota Vikings game again, obviously talking about the conservative play calling late in the game. I think first we got to point out the situation Carolina is in offensively. Every play caller in the NFL is going to have a certain element of conservatism when you're protecting a lead. I mean, that's just kind of how this league works. You don't want to make mistakes that give the other team an opportunity to get back into it quickly. But I don't think we can put this all on the play caller. And I know there are times throughout the season where people have had their frustrations. I get it. But look at some of these possessions for Carolina late in that game against the Vikings. I mean, obviously, late in the third quarter, they're starting at their own 1-yard line. Not an ideal situation for any play caller to be in. Your options are pretty limited at that point. Later in the fourth quarter, again, with Carolina holding on to a multi-score lead, you've got a situation where they have 3rd and 2 at their own 36-yard line. Ideal situation at that point for a short down and distance conversion. Cam Newton misses on a pass to Fozzie Whitaker. When you look later in that fourth quarter, 3rd and 5 from the 30-yard line, this is when Carolina is up 24-21, and Cam Newton looks for Christian McCaffrey. The pass is maybe a little off the mark, but it hits Christian's hands, and it's intercepted. My point here is, I think in addition to the play caller, there is an element of this that involves the players and the accountability there to execute. You've got to have these guys, making plays in these critical moments, and the players will be the first to say it. I mean, those are passes attempted on 3rd down. We're not talking about runs here on 3rd and short. We're talking about pass attempts that just were not executed properly, and the players certainly take accountability for that, know they need to be better in finishing these games out. And look, one last point on all this. The Panthers scored 31 points against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. That's more than any team in the NFL has scored against the Vikings this season. It was the number 2 defense in the league entering in total yards, number 2 in points allowed per game at 17. You could argue it was the best defense in the NFL. So this was not the week to point fingers at the offensive and the play calling right now. 31 points against that Vikings defense and getting a win against that team coming off 8 straight. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the week to be too critical. Got our last question from Richard Carolina Long. That's a pretty good name there. What needs to be done defensively to prepare for an Aaron Rodgers comeback? What needs to be done defensively? Well, I mean, I think the only way to answer that question is to prepare for Aaron Rodgers to be at his absolute best. I mean, you just say that name and everybody understands what kind of challenge that is. Yeah, he's been out for a while, coming back from injury. You might be not quite sure exactly what type of guy you're going to see under center for the Packers, but the name speaks for itself, what he's done. Everybody understands the type of player that Aaron Rodgers is. So for the Panthers defense, you prepare for him to be at his absolute best. Prepare for the Packers to be playing at their absolute best. They're playing for their postseason lives, just like a lot of these other teams in the NFC are. They know they need to win out. So the Panthers know what's at stake for them, for the opposing team this week, and they know what the quarterback across the field is capable of. They got to play their best football. It's the bottom line. Thanks for the question this week, everybody. We'll do it again next time right here on Panthers.com.